Hello, my name is Woodrow Starr, and I'm going to be going over some leather work today. And what we're going to look at today is this top-notch billfold kit that we get from Tandy. I don't know if you can see that very well. This is a pretty complete kit. Comes with everything you need. What we're going to look at is some stamping and some finishing of it, as well as some lacing. Okay, we'll get started with the kit itself. Looking at everything it says it has in here, pre-cut, pre-punched tooling leather back, and what that means is that that's the part of the wallet that you'll see here. Um, this is the where you'll put your design or stamps or any kind of carving. Pre-cut meaning that it's cut to the length designated for the instructions. Pre-punched meaning the holes that it will use for lacing. The other parts of the wallet are the linings that come with it that will be laced into the back of it, as well as the other parts of the wallet. Just some more parts, and if you ever get a hold of one of these kits, it also has some instructions on the inside explaining what the different parts are, the different pockets, and where they go on the wallet after you get it ready to be put together. It also comes with some lace and then a flat needle. The needle that it comes with is a prong needle that has it's not the usual type of needle that you would see. It's a small metal needle, and you've probably seen before. It's got a blunt end on it. On the end where the lace would go, comes apart into little pieces here. You can see that's where the lace will go, and I'm going to demonstrate that, how you put the lace together with the needle. First thing we're going to look at is the piece of leather. Now what we'll do is we'll use some tape, painter's tape. We'll apply it to the back of the leather, and the back side meaning there's a smooth side and a bit rough that they call the flesh side. We'll apply the tape to that, and the reason for that is you do any kind of tooling or stamping on the leather, it will, as you push the leather down and with the stamp compressing the leather to make the design, the leather starts to squish together and it'll start to smash outwards, and it'll stretch the leather. With the tape, it helps to prevent that from happening. It helps to keep that leather together in one piece. It doesn't prevent it completely, but it keeps it to a very bare minimum of any stretch. So when you assemble the pieces, everything fits together. Okay, so let's take a look at the first thing is the stamping part of this. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple pieces, some scrap leather that I've worked on before, where I put some blue tape, painter's tape on the back. See here, and on the front, just some different designs that I was working on for a belt. What I'm going to show you, the design that we're going to use on the piece of wallet there, and how we're going to go around the edges with the border. First thing that we're going to do is look at what they call casing the leather. We're going to get it wet. And once we do that, we're going to let it sit for a couple minutes. What you do is you just get some water. I'll put this down here so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so you just get a little bit of water in a container, a little sponge. Look at this side of the leather. I didn't use it. Normally, like if you haven't done anything with the rest of the leather, you'll want to do the whole piece of leather. But just for instructional purposes, we'll do one side here. And we'll let that soak in. You don't want to get it too wet, but we'll let that dry for a bit as it returns back to its normal color or as close as possible, and then we'll be able to ready to do some stamping. So we'll take a look at that here, let that dry up for a little bit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so it's a little more dry. It's not completely dry, but we don't want it to get completely dry. One of the stamps that we're going to use is from what they call a basic leather stamping kit that was also purchased from Tandy. It came with 6 different kinds of stamps, as well as these 2 stamps that we're going to use, mallet, as well as a sponge applicator, and some other tools that we have here. That's basically it. It also came with some other leather kits, a wallet, a money clip, and a belt, and I think some coasters. But we're just going to use the tools that came with that kit. So moving forward here, I'm going to go over this. The tools that I'm going to use are a geometric stamp and what they call a camouflage stamp. Here are the other tools that came with it, the stamping tools. That's what they look like. So we're going to create a border. Now with the wallet itself, pull that out here. As you can see, there's a, again, like I said, there's it's pre-punched for the lacing that we're going to do, or that we're going to demonstrate. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create another border on the inside of this, right along inside of here, inside of that line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dividers, and just basically looks like a compass, but without the pencil part of it. And we're going to create an inside line for this to use as a border. And again, on the other piece, it would go along that. Now, also, another tool that we use is called a swivel knife. We use this for cutting lines, and that's what we're going to use this for today. We marked the line with the divider, so we're going to make it a little more deeper of a cut into the leather along that line. You can see as it goes into there, it makes a little bit of a deeper cut. And we'll explain the importance of that here in a little bit. When you use a swivel knife, you want to learn how to strop it, meaning it's a piece of a leather with some jeweler's rouge on it, before and after, and depending on the length of your job, you want to strop it a few times just to keep it sharp before and after. Again, that little process is called stropping. So you just put the knife down and then you pull away from the edge of the blade. And that keeps it nice and sharp for you. So every time that you do use it, you can make a nice clean cut. Okay, so in that, so we got the cuts in there. Now what we're going to do is we'll put the stamp on it. We're going to look at the surface that we're going to use it's called a quartz slab. It's real hard. It's flat. It helps to as you apply the stamp to it and pressure to it, it helps leave that mark in there a little bit deeper. So, using the mallet and the stamp, we will start with a guideline, and we're just going to use a right triangle for that, just to create a small along that border, just a little slight scratch line with a scratch all. Okay, so we got that line in there, and we'll go use that as our starting point. We'll just center our stamp on the line and give it a couple of good solid whacks. Don't let it bounce. Okay. And there's our first stamp. Nice, good, clean cut. And we'll move on from there. Now, from this point, we can create more by using, as when we take the other stamp, we can use the stamp that we've already put in there as a guide for the next spot to put the one. So we're going to use this little leg coming off of that geometric stamp and place the leg of that or the coming out of the corner into that, and it'll give us another spot of where we're sitting. So you can see those little legs overlap, so you can see how, you know, one is the other. So, and then we'll go along with this, and we'll go across our design. As we get to the side, we don't want to leave it completely right up to the border. So we're going to have it kind of faded. So the way we do that is we tip the tool away from the edge, and as we place the stamp in there, it'll give a little bit of a less of an imprint on there, so you can see it it looks like it fades. And the reason for that, I'll explain here in a minute, is because we're going to use the camouflage tool as a border stamp. Okay. Okay, and we'll go along the edge with a bevel, and this didn't come with the kit, but it's not necessary, but I like to use it. It's just it's a smooth surfaced bevel. It's got a little up on one side. We'll put that side into the this side here. We'll put into the groove that we cut with a knife, and we'll bevel a little line across. What I also like to use is a little weight, because the leather will move along the surface because it's so smooth. So the weight will help keep the little piece of leather in place. Right, now, I don't know if you can see with the bevel that I created there with that stamp. And now we'll put that camouflage stamp tool into that bevel, and we will work our way along, placing right next to each other, not on top of each other. Along. Okay, and now you can see that border. It looks, as you get more of it done, it'll give the impression that the design is going, you know, down and towards the border and underneath that. that camouflage stamp. So that was the purpose of how, when I was saying you wanted, when you put that stamp in there, to have it faded just a little. Okay, now after we get done doing that, we'll apply that whole stamp to the back of the wallet. Okay, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we got that done. Let's see what it looks like now. Did the whole back of the stamp. There's the tape. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at now is how we're going to do some coloring. The other things that come with the kit are a what they call super sheen or a finish, as well as some gel antique. Both be applied to the leather, and it just gives it a different type of color, and also is a shiny finish to it. So we're not going to do it on this piece just yet. I'm just going to show you what it looks like on another piece of leather. What we did here, just to show the effects of what it looks like, by applying the super sheen to this piece of leather in this one, as you can see, this spot here, wiping it off, and then letting it dry, and then applying the gel antique to the rest of it, smearing it all over. You can see, as another reason they call it like a finish or a resistor, it kept some of that finish off of that leather and kept it from soaking in as much as it did in the other areas. So it serves a few different purposes. And like in one of the projects that I used, I don't know if you can see the different colorings of this memo pad holder. It's just one of those little wire bound ones. I put the super sheen into the middle of this, wiped it off, let it dry, and then put it's a different gel antique. It's a saddle tan colored. I put it over the rest of it, and as you can see, the inside is a little bit lighter than the rest of it on the outside, and just a little bit darker, enough to where the stitching would stand out. So again, just one of the many ways that it can be used, that you put on there. The next thing that we're going to look at now is when we assemble the whole project together, and looking at the different stitching, lacing of it. One thing we're going to look at, it's called a double loop stitch, and let me get those out here in a minute, and I'll go over that here. Okay, right back. Okay, so what I came up with here is a couple of pieces of leather that I've been practicing some stamping on. I just punched some holes out on it, edges of them. They're a little bit oversized and a little bit further spaced apart than what the project uses. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with this little bit of oversized width of lace, and we're going to go through and look at sorry, hold on here. Okay, so as I said in the beginning, we're going to look at how we put this lace together. Now, I have this white piece of lace here. One side is smooth, and the other side I put a mark on it, so because it's kind of hard to tell with this camera which is which. So the one with the black mark on it is the rougher, fleshy side, whereas the plain side is the smooth side. So you're going to take your two-prong needle, and what you're going to do is pull it apart. You can see how I did that. And as you hold it apart, you're going to get, what you're going to want to do is take the smooth part, and if you look at it close enough, you'll see there's two little teeth in there. We'll put that on the plain side of the leather, and then you'll squeeze it together with your fingernails to let those little prongs go into the leather. If you wanted to as well, you can use a small needle nose pliers, or if you just wanted to use like a piece of board or a piece of wood to press them together. I like to use this just to make sure it goes in. You don't want to press on the prongs themselves because you'll press them down, causing them to come out of the lace, and then the lace will come off of the needle. So there you go. There's your laced up piece of. Yeah. So what we'll do here is we'll start to come through. You'll take your lace. We'll start in the middle here, and we'll go out. We'll put it through with the rough side up, as you can see as it comes through. Pull it through, and you want to just leave just a little bit hanging off, the maybe about an inch or so. And then what you'll do with that is you'll cross that over towards the next hole, and then you'll pull this thread or lace over that, causing a little bit of like an X. And you'll put your needle through there. And as you pull it through, you want to make sure it's not all twisted or it's all flat. Okay, and then you'll see there's an X now. And then what you'll do, straightening out your lace again, you'll take the needle and you'll roll it over and go under that X on top of the leather, not through any holes, but just under that X that you made. Pull it through, again, keeping your lace straight. Okay. And then going back over again, keeping your lace straight. You go through the next hole. Okay. Keeping it straight and flat, put it down. Bring your lace back through the X, the new one that you just created. See there how it came out. Then again, keeping your lace flat, straight. Through. And then you continue on. We'll do this next hole before we move on to going around the corner. Okay, go through, make sure it's flat, pull it around, under the X, sure your lace is straight. We'll do this last hole on this bar. And you see every time you pull the lace over, you create like a new X right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Once it comes this way, it goes over the top of a piece of lace that's going in another direction. So it creates that sort of an X. And then after you pull it through the hole, you go under the X. Again, keeping your lace flat and straight, no twists. And again, like I said, it's just a bit exaggerated. It's oversized lace, and the holes are a little bit bigger and spread further apart. So now what we'll do is we'll look at how we go around a corner. Let me get one started here. Actually, let's go a little bit closer to the edge, because what we're going to want to do is we're gonna go through. Like we just got to the edge here. Okay, so when you get to the corner, you can see we're going to want to go through this, the hole before the corner, and the hole after the corner twice each. And I'm going to demonstrate that here. The reason we want to do that is because if we don't, if we just go through each hole once, the braid starts to look kind of spread apart. This isn't an ideal corner. Usually this would be like a little bit rounder, but just for instructional purposes, we'll stick with this. So let me get this started. So if we get to the first hole right before the corner, we go through as we normally would. Let me see here. Okay. Started. X. It's nice and flat. Now we come to that hole before the corner and just continue on like we're forming the new X there. See that? Go under it. Again, gonna make sure your lace doesn't get twisted. Okay, just did. You can still fix it, but make sure you do. Go through that X, and then instead of going into the next hole, you go through that hole again. As you can see, as you pull it through, you're forming a new X. So, see again, like I said, as you pull the lace across, it's going to cross over a piece there. So be sure not to go under too many different pieces. Just go under those top two layers there. You can see there's another piece there. You don't want to go under that. You just want to go under that last X that you made. So you've gone to that hole twice already. So now you're going to move on to the next one. Pull your lace through, which will be the corner hole. So this is the first run through the corner hole. Again, you'll see that X that you made. Pull your lace through that. And as you pull it through and you go to make the new X, you put it back through that same hole again. Okay. Yeah, it can be a little tight. You see you caused another X there, so again, put your needle through that. You lay straight. Now that you've gone through that hole twice, move on to the next one. Put your first run through there. So you made an X. Find that X, go through it, pull your lace out, carry your laces straight. Out. Go through the hole again. Make a new X. Go under that. And you continue on as you were. Right. Okay, now what we're going to look at, the next part is the how we finish the end. Okay, let me, as you can see, that goes around that corner. It looks, again, it looks a little odd, but if you follow those instructions, it'll look a lot better with that thread that comes, or the lace that comes with the kit. Okay, be right back. Okay, so when we get up to where we started, the way we're going to want to do this is we're going to want to go through until get to the last hole. Pull your lace through, make sure it's flat. Go under the new X, and right there we'll stop for now. What we'll do over here with that little piece we left hanging out at the beginning, we'll pull that through and we'll start to undo it until we can find a loop. Okay, and we'll pull that through there, and we'll pull that lace through there, and voila, what do you see? There's a loop right there. Okay, make sure that that's still plenty big. Okay, and then what we'll do with this end is we'll go between the leather and we'll pull that piece out. And what normally what we do, we would cut that and then we would pull it down through the two pieces of leather, and then we would stitch it or lace it into the rest of it. So there you have the loop. We don't want to lose that. Okay. Then we continue on until we get to what we see are two holes in the front, and there should be just one hole in the back. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll come up through the bottom of that loop, and we'll bring it across, and then we'll put the needle through the last hole, and come across through the last X we made. And then we'll come down into the last hole, and we'll put that down in between the leather. And you can see it again for instructional purposes, and just because of how oversized the lace is and the holes, um, what you do on the project should look a little bit better than this. I'm actually going to go back and try something different here. See if this looks a little better. Yeah, so, like I said, it's perfect when they're coming to do this, but what you're going to want to do okay, so anyways, that's what the lacing will look like. Like I said, it might look a little bit better. This thread's been pulled in and out of these holes, so it just looks a little more frayed than what a newer one would look like. Anyways, so that's pretty much it as far as the assembly, stamping, and the dyeing. As far as putting the wallet together, it's, if you can do a puzzle, you can do this wallet. It's just the parts you got to lace together like you do with this, and then you should be good. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.